Hey, sports fans, Larry Eder, RunBlogRun's your favorite podcast, Socialing the Distance. And this week, we're going to have a lot of fun with Matt Wisner. Matt is our columnist for From Lane 1. He's going to the University of Oregon. He is an 800-meter runner, and he has some fans online. Check out Track Drama to enjoy a little bit. But Matt, great to finally see you and chat.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Larry.
So do you live in the dorms, or are you off the university campus?
I'm off the campus. I live on 15th Ave, just about 800 meters from Hayward. So
cool.
I, have this little 10-minute walk every morning to practice. And yeah, it's good to be a little bit removed from the campus because it's quiet.
Yeah, I stayed there right there in 1980 for the trials. And the way my buddies and I kept us in food and beer is they were shooting Personal Best, which was a movie that Robert Towne did, and he paid the extras $40 a day, which kept us in food and beer. And and then we went to the trials and just kind of had a good time. And that was my first trials, and it was I haven't missed one since. So it's pretty cool. Why do you write about running?
The honest answer, I think, is that it's just the thing that I understand the best. And I kind of have known for a bit now that I want to be a writer, and I'm at the point where I know what good writing looks like, but I'm not quite there yet. And I think running is kind of something I've latched onto as an entry point. But I guess another part to the answer could be that running is this really complicated thing that I have this complex relationship to, and writing is a way to kind of process all of that.
Cool. Are you in the journalism department at the University of Oregon?
Yeah, I was. I just finished up school actually in December.
Congratulations, man. That's awesome.
It was a 1-year master's program in journalism.
Oh, wow. Awesome. Did you have Professor Lori Schatz for classes?
Yeah, I was in her track class. I was the only grad student.
Wow.
It was pretty fun.
Cool. What do you like about the 800?
What do I like about the 800? Honestly, I think I'm a miler. That's the honest truth. But I think through my 4 years at Duke, I didn't want to put in the work and run more volume. And I was a little scared of the mile. And then by the time I got to Oregon for my 5th year, we had a bunch of good milers. So I feel I was kind of in the 800 for almost practical reasons. So, over 5 years or more of just running many 800s, I think it's just become a bit more of a comfortable event for me. But I do think that I'll probably eventually fare better in a 1500 or a mile.
Who was your coach at Duke?
Norm Ogilvie.
Yeah, I know Norm. Yeah, I ran when Norm ran. And I think there may have been adult beverages shared at different times.
Yeah, that's good.
In the old days. He's a good guy.
Yeah, great guy.
What did you learn from Norm?
Where do I even start with this one? I mean, when I got to Duke, Norm had been coaching there for 25 years already. And, by the time I left, Norm and I left at the same time. He retired when I was leaving, and I didn't know that at the time, but I think we had a pretty special relationship because I would be the only one who was qualifying for NCAAs and stuff. So we'd travel, just the two of us, to meets like that occasionally. So I got to spend a lot of time with him. And, he was a journalist first too. So he's this kind of eloquent guy. He'll kind of dispense these little nice sentences from time to time, and you don't really realize he's doing it. But in the end, when he had retired and I didn't know yet, it wasn't public, he once said, just really casually, he was whatever you do, don't forget, hard work and passion will always yield good results. And I was oh, that's really kind of a nice adage or whatever. But then I learned that he retired and that I'd have to move across the country. And yeah, I don't know. That was kind of his almost final words as a coach to me.
What made you move to Oregon?
So I never had redshirted or been injured at all at Duke. And I kind of planned to just do 4 years of running and then like see what happened. But because of like the COVID situation, I had this like extra eligibility, and yeah, just kind of wanted to shake it up. I had a job lined up that like then was canceled because of COVID. So I just, didn't have anything to do really.
Um, who are your favorite non-sports writers?
Um, that's a good question. My favorite writer is Joan Didion,
Okay, cool.
essayist. Yeah, she just died a couple months
Yeah,
ago.
yeah,
Very tragic, sad for me.
yeah. I read a really there was a very wonderful piece in the Guardian about her. Which is kind of my morning go-to. Um, do you have sports writers that you admire? Are there anybody that kind of like for me, it's like Kenny Moore,
Yeah,
who was a
classic.
Oregon guy, and I'm actually rereading for the 10th time his best efforts book. I just read the La Severin piece last night because we got a snowstorm coming in Wisconsin, and it's my favorite time to go out, and walk and stuff. Are there sports writers that you admire?
So I don't love sports. I'm not like a big sports guy. And my dad is like a gym teacher and like a big sports fan. Like my mom was like a Division I athlete. Like they like sports, but I never like really have been that into it. But obviously the Kenny Moore was going to be like my go-to answer. That like introductory essay in Bowerman and the Man of Oregon, the first chapter, like that's really incredible stuff for me.
Yeah, he was involved. There was two pre-movies back, when you were about 5, and he was involved with one of them with Robert Town, and then the other one was done by Disney. And I got advertising from both of them. My favorite story is that Disney offered Tom Cruise, because Cruise was a producer of the one with Moore. They offered Tom Cruise 3 movies not to do the other pre-movie. It was totally bizarre, But they're both very interesting in their own way, It's just, but obviously different stories and different approaches to things. So you just had a trip to the East Coast, and you went to the Milrose Games, and you rabbited there.
I didn't. No, I did. So I was going to the Melrose Games regardless because we were doing this kind of like project documenting Cooper and Cole's pro debut, like me and some of my other friends. So I was going to go, and I tried to get in that like second heat of the mile. They have this B mile. Like for the past, I don't know how many years, has basically just been a bunch of 4 flat guys like trying to break 4 minutes. And they told me I was too slow. My 4 flat mile PR is too slow. So I didn't get to run it. But then, obviously a bunch of people ended up running right around 4 minutes, which, I'm definitely fit enough to run pretty, I think, a couple seconds under right now. So I didn't race at Melrose, but 2 weeks later, we went to Chicago, and I did. I paced their American record attempt in the mile in Chicago.
What did you think about that race?
It was stressful. We all kind of talked about this, like this kind of like thing where, they were very candid and transparent about like what they were setting out to do, right? Like we're going to try to run 3:49.89 or quicker. And kind of that, like putting it out in the open like that kind of just makes it so it's either like a success or a failure. They ran like very fast in the mile about a year ago. This weekend, like 3:50 collegiate record, number 2 collegiate all time. And like they said, the main difference is kind of like no one really knew. There was no pressure. Like they didn't even know what they were capable of themselves. So it was this like unexpected thing, and it made the experience really different. But yeah, I paced them through 1,000. We were right on what we wanted to do. We wanted like a really aggressive close. That's kind of like what our training here makes us good at, I guess, and especially Cooper and Cole. So yeah, everything kind of went to plan, and then it just, was a couple tenths of a second too slow, and then the whole thing felt like a failure, which is terrible because they ran.
I thought it was. I've seen a couple shitty videos of it. I'm trying to get a good video of the race. It's nice to have a nice indoor facility in Chicago.
Mhm.
I want to get down for a couple events there because it's just been. Pardon me, you like it, facility?
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah. I used to. My first experience indoors was at a armory in East St. Louis back in 1973, 3 or 4. I was at a Jesuit high school in St. Louis, just met, and a bunch of my buddies were running the mile and the 4x8, and so as a freshman, I got to go over and check it out. But it was pretty cool. What do you like about running indoors?
I've always kind of liked indoors. Like, I feel like more than other people. Like, I grew up in Pennsylvania, and the Northeast like takes indoor pretty seriously. We had always like a very competitive indoor state meet. Like, I'd go to the New Balance indoor nationals meets, and then at Duke, like, yeah, same kind of deal. Like, my coach Norm, he's a New Yorker, so like, he kind of brought that like attitude to the South, and we were racing like every weekend mostly. Like, I was racing all winter, so indoors always just been like a big thing for me. And I feel like because other people maybe like take it a little bit less seriously, or like they use it as a time to train a bit harder, I've always like done pretty well. Like, when I was in the NCAA, I made 2 indoor national meets, but I never made it outdoors. So yeah, I've kind of just always kind of felt good at it. But now that I live out here in Oregon, and the attitude about indoors is like a little different. So this is like last year was the first time I didn't run any indoor races, just because I didn't have eligibility, and I it was like too much of a hassle to make it up to UW, and we were training, and that was it. But yeah, this past weekend after pacing the mile, I ran the 800, and that was my first indoor race in probably like 2 years.
How'd you do in the 800?
I ran a lifetime PR.
Awesome. What was your time?
1:47.85.
Awesome. Now, where was that at?
That was in Chicago.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Was that after you did the pacing?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's a good, a busy day.
Yeah. What was the next day?
That's cool. So talk to me about who's coaching you right now.
Ben Thomas.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how do you like that arrangement? Will that stay with it for a while?
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of at this point where I'm not planning too far in the future. Like, I'm kind of open to a lot of possibilities, but yeah, I really like him as a coach, and we've got a good little situation here of like, there's a handful of us now who all ran for Oregon that are out of the NCAA, and yeah, we're all just like training together and with the college team still. And yeah, we all really like and respect Ben as a coach. I think, yeah, I've, never once kind of like questioned what he's told me to do, because I feel like he really knows what he's talking about, which is like a really good thing.
The coach-athlete relationship is really interesting because either it works, man, or it doesn't,
Yeah.
Was that the same way you had with Norm when you were there? Did you guys hit it off right away?
I think our relationships, like my relationship to Norm is very different from my relationship to Ben. Norm, I feel like I was like probably closer with Norm. Like, we were friends, and like I felt like, we like talked a lot more, and like we'd have our like meetings a lot, and like it was like that kind of thing. But Duke wasn't like running very well. So I always kind of like had this piece in my head where I like didn't exactly trust what we were doing, or like thought there were other ways to do it. Norm, he's a good guy. Like, if I made a suggestion, like a lot of times he'd honor it or like meet in the middle. But like, I feel like that's kind of a sticky spot to get in, like, right? You don't want to be like the athlete who like kind of doesn't wholeheartedly believe in what they're doing. And you also don't want to have to like be thinking about what kind of workouts to do, yourself. Like, you don't want to have to write your own workouts. But, I don't know if they were good or not. But what I do know is that most people at Duke weren't running well. And then I come here and it's like a little bit different. Like, I don't like hadn't known Ben very well. We've, only been working together for a little over a year, but I definitely like trust everything he tells me to do, just because like everyone's running so fast and he has such a good track record. And that's like, I think, a big reason why I chose to come here, is because like when I was at Duke, Ben was at Virginia Tech, and those guys just like tore it up every single weekend. Like there's these guys who would come in to college at the same time as me, being like way worse than me, and then they'd like be just as good or better by the end. So he kind of just has this like really good track record. And yeah, as I'm getting to know him better too, I like really like the guy. So
What's the workout that tells you that you're ready to roll? Do you have a workout that gives you confidence?
I'd say no. I think like, and that's like a weird answer. I think like here, our training program is kind of this, like we do a lot of like medium days. Like there's never anything that's like really very hard. That's like a good indicator on paper of fitness. You just kind of have to trust that it's there. But at Duke, it would have been the opposite. Like I would have been running like really hard, and I would have probably been really confident going into a race just because I'm running fast times and workouts.
Can you describe a medium day for us?
Yeah, I mean, like on Tuesday, yesterday, we had like a workout, and we did these kind of like we did 2 800s and 2 600s. Not that fast. There were like a lot of pace changing in the middle of the 800s. So we'd like run, like a hard 100 and like 13, and then, a 231. And then like you get a little break, like a slower 400, and then you close the rep hard, right? So it's like, I don't know, a lot of like the workouts are these kind of like exercises in like changing pace, and some fast, some slow. And yeah, the thing is like our recovery is never like super long. So I feel like we kind of compensate by like not running as fast during the on reps.
Do you do moderate mileage?
I run like low 60s.
Okay.
In 6 days. Yeah. So that's like pretty good for me. I never got up that high at Duke.
Do you do core work?
We don't do like explicitly core work, but we do a lot of like sneaky core.
Okay.
So we'll do like a lot of like drills and
sure,
bands, hip exercises.
Yeah, no, that's the hip stuff is big, and I used to love the hurdler stretch and high knees and just butt kicks and things like that. That just you kind of. It's amazing to me that some of the coaches today have forgotten about a lot of those things. Are you comfortable racing a lot?
I am. Yeah, that's like kind of like what I've known my whole life. Just like racing often. But yeah, I mean, like since moving to Oregon, it's like the lowest number of races I've ever done. Like for indoor, we're doing basically every 2 weeks, and I also didn't open up my season until February. And then outdoors, I think it'll probably be something similar.
I'm going to give you the names of some athletes, and I want you have 5 words to describe them. Okay. All right. Cole Hawker.
Oh, you're going for my friends.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to give you some different ones, but I just want to I'm trying to be nice and start you out easy. Okay.
Okay. Cole is stoic. He's confident. He's kind of like unwavering. He's also reserved. And yeah, I'll stop there, I think.
Bryce Hoppel.
Oh, I don't know Bryce very well. Yeah, I've only met him a couple times.
Okay.
I like how he runs his races. So I guess I'll say he's, I don't know, like he's pretty commanding on the track.
Okay. All right. Do you know Elle Purrier?
I interviewed her at the Norris Games.
And what did you think after that?
I'm very charmed by her.
Yeah.
I mean, I wrote this in my blog, but this like kind of dairy farm.
I remember that. Yeah.
That we hear a lot. Like I really like it, and I'm charmed by it every time she says it. But like that's kind of like become her defining characteristic almost, is that she's like a hard worker. She's gritty. She's not afraid to like take it by the reins. And I think that's like pretty admirable.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a whole group from the University of Wisconsin before Jerry was coaching, the Easters, and Jim used to milk cows before he would do his morning run, and he's actually a full-time farmer now, and that's the kind of thing I got with her too. Philip Ingebrigtsen.
I liked Philip. He was funny, lighthearted. I was like trying to do this, big like feature story on the Ingebrigtsens when they came to Eugene for pre-classic, and I talked to their dad, Yurt, and I couldn't get a hold of like Philip and Jacob until after the race. But Philip was very nice and willing to talk, and he was having a terrible time. He had like I think he'd like really tied up at the end and like had been gotten out too hard in the start of the race, but he like was cracking jokes and like telling me a lot of cool stuff. And then like he threw up and then like came back to talk to me more. So he didn't forget about me despite,
that's cool. That's cool.
With the vomit. But yeah, he was really nice. And he seems like at the moment he's like very interested in like his family life. Like he has a wife and a kid. Yeah. And he's like, somehow cultivated like a nice balance with all that.
Do you think it's important to have a balance in life as an elite distance runner?
Of course. Of course. I think like for me personally, I would like go too insane and like probably like end up running poorly if I like put too much like pressure on myself. Like I think psychologically, I just have this tendency to like overthink or care too much, and then that's just gonna like make me worse. So yeah, kind of for me, it's always been like about doing other things. Like when I first got to college, for example, like I was like going out a lot and like had friends like away from the team and stuff, but like then was PRing every weekend. And like that was kind of this way I like justified this, cycle of debauchery. But like now that I'm, a bit older, like I just kind of like lean into like my other interests and friends and stuff too.
In the 70s, someone did a survey of American distance runners, and the majority of them were in grad school. And I just recall at that time, you had your running, you had other stuff going on. I dug graves to keep, so that's how I made money for 2 summers. It was a great time to write and everything too. But and I found flat places to do some training. But you find different things and find different ways to work. You're now finished graduate school. Are you going to go for a PhD, or what are you thinking about? Or
no, I don't think I'll ever do school again. I've done enough school.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I like it. I always liked school. Like I kind of like, like Duke was kind of just like a glorified reading group, almost the way I did it. And I'm like really into that kind of thing, like reading and then talking about it. So that was good. But then like school at Oregon, like kind of felt like a lot of like little chores that I had to do. Didn't like that as much. But yeah, 5 years is like too much school, I think.
Okay. If you were in charge of, so now we're going to get to some interesting questions.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I use what I call the Brian Lenton method.
Okay.
I'm just drinking hot water right now because I'm going to go get a couple medical tests. But normally it's I'm pumped up on Pete's coffee, and but Brian Lenton used to do. He's an Australian writer, and he never got on an airplane. You had to come to see him, and he put a 6-pack in front of you, and you got 3 and he got 3, and he never prepared questions. And I have these glorious interviews that would go 15, 20 pages of them. They're kind of cult things. He interviewed, Ron Clark and all the greats, but I wanted to get a feel for you a little bit. And so here's the next one. I'm going to make you head of USA Track and Field for a week. I want 3 changes that you would do to make the sport better?
Okay. I think the first thing that I would do, and this feels like something that's totally within USATF's power, is like to have a kind of more established like American track circuit, like a series of meets, like the Diamond League maybe, but like in the US earlier in the spring. And then I think that would like make it a lot easier for fans to watch, because it's like going to be the same day every week at the same time, hopefully. Like broadcast stuff would be like more streamlined. I think like, getting track on TV or like at least like free broadcasts is like going to be a huge thing to like get, more viewership. So that'd be my first change. I think my second thing, and like this is starting to happen a bit more, but I would put like a lot of funds into like young, cool, like journalists and content creators and YouTubers and stuff like that. Cause I think that's like really how, like, I think track could easily be like a mainstream pop culture thing. Like the way to do it, I think, is like to get like cool young people like all over the internet, like doing track stuff. So I would like, like use some funds to like do something with that. I don't know, or like try something. And then the third thing I would do, I think like another thing that I'm thinking about is like, there's a lot of like, like track is like the most participated in high school sport. And then it also like, the people at the top, like the best professional athletes are like treated very well. But I think there's like kind of this, this hole for like the like post-collegiate like runner, or like a kind of almost lack of like architecture for like what they do and where they go. And like in Europe, they have like a really thriving club scene. So that would be like another thing that I'd try to tackle as like a USATF operative, is like, how can we keep these like post-collegiate runners who like some of whom are good, some maybe not as good, like still in the sport and participating in the sport without them having to do like 5K road races and marathons and stuff.
Cool. Okay, now I'm going to make you the head of ESPN for a week.
Yeah.
All right. And I mean, you are the man. Okay. You can control everything. So give me 3 announcers you would like to see at least tried. Okay.
Oh, 3 announcers.
3 people who you think understand the sport, have enough personality. So maybe take from the I mean, I think, Kara Goucher's done a nice job. I think Des, but I think we need, and I'm really happy to see them use Des. I'm happy to see them use Kara. And, Addo's good and all that kind of stuff. And you can tell the difference between good announcing and crap announcing, because we have a lot of crap announcing sometimes. Right. What would you do to change the way TV is televised or shown?
Well, I think like my thing that I've like thought about and talked about is that like, I think for it to be entertaining, you need kind of like a strong duo, like someone who's like charismatic and knows the sport, but then maybe like a like celebrity or like someone that, will make it fun and like kind of more ordinary. Cause I do think that the track like community gets like really insular and we get like really technical, but I think there's totally like space for coverage to be a bit more like zoomed out and like for ordinary people, like maybe not like, meticulously reporting splits or like talking about stuff that's like really, dorky track stuff that like only real serious track fans talk about. So I think like there needs to be some kind of balance there. Like, we saw like a lot of the like Leslie Jones, like commentating on Twitter where like she like discovers for the first time like that, steeplechase is an Olympic event. And like, I think that's like super entertaining and like could easily be integrated into like a broadcast, and like a Kyle Merber next to like Pete Davidson.
Yeah. Oh yes. Yeah. That would be great.
That's like kind of like what I think.
Okay. I got several others for you. Okay. What's your take on the recent controversy at the Winter Olympics with this 15-year-old Russian athlete? What did you follow that at all?
Yeah, I'm like loosely paying attention.
Okay. Then let's take it a more generic way.
Okay.
My biggest pet peeve I've covered every Olympic trial since 1980. Yeah. Okay.
Wow.
And so the same shit happens at each time. Is that USATF gets these sports riders Olympic beat who will only come every 4 years, who've never seen another frigging track meet.
Right.
And the easiest stories they can write about are doping stories. And instead of taking that chance to open up to their readers, a story about Ryan Krauser or covering a group like you guys training, trying to see how good you can be, or what it takes to be a 10-second 100-meter runner. And really, think about it. The easiest shit is always each time, well, there's a doping thing. And they're all experts about it. And, it got to the point where Dunaway and I I was banging my head on the table. I just said, this shit's easy. Why don't you learn something about the sport? Come on, I'll take you out for a beer and I'll give you 30 minutes. The coverage of the sport is really important. And it seems to me at different times in track and field, we eat our young. And what I mean by that is that there is something sometimes about when riders get together, everything is so fucking negative. And how do, and part of that is as a writer, it's the introspection thing, right? As a distance runner, you get all this time and your brain kind of goes in a lot of different places. And so you're looking at things differently. I have no problem with that. How do you think the sport should be covered? Do you think that, like you've been writing about each piece from lane one, and the reason why I'm not, blowing smoke up to your backside is I learned something new about the people, and I'm a geek, and I really liked your Ingebrigtsen piece. I mean, I spent an evening with Gert in a bar in after the guys had run in Dusseldorf, and he was doing his regular business work, and we were chatting a little bit during it. And I remember Philip coming down, and Gert was totally annoyed that Philip was still up. And he goes, "Well, I needed a bottle of water," And it's those are the little things that I look at, and I'm kind of going, "Wow, this guy, he really cares for his kids." And how do you do that whole father coach thing, man? And so, and I know that in reading your piece and appreciating your attention to detail, you're looking for those things. How do you make the people human? And how do you form a connection? How do you do that? How do you see that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll answer the question generally first. And so I think that the most compelling coverage is kind of about this, the character of the athlete, the personality, because I think there are a lot of athletes in our sport that are very good and very boring. And to me, results are exciting, but what's much more exciting is a cool result. And then you also understand what happened to get them there. And, because, when you write down Jacob Ingebrigtsen runs fastest time ever on US soil, sure, that's gonna grab the attention and is exciting and stuff, but it's much more exciting to also learn that he's told his dad that, once he's accomplished what there's to accomplish, he could hang up his spikes, and, that's way cooler.
That was fascinating to me. That was really, it was, you pulled a Kenny Moore there. Okay. And so what I mean by that is that what Kenny Moore did, because go to a used bookstore and get the book Best Efforts. It's 20 of his stories from the 70s and 80s. Okay. But he starts out with a thing called The Observer, and he talks about he would sit and he would take notes and he would watch these different things. And your ability to put that in there gave us a whole different view of that athlete. Are there athletes you'd like to interview?
Yeah.
Okay. Who's the one you want to interview the most?
I have like one that I like have in the works is like Isaiah Jewett. And, I've raced him a bunch of times. Like we know each other. Yeah. So like, that's one that I've kind of had on my mind for a long time, but like, I'm really interested in his like anime mindset, like how much like he really like uses this kind of thing that he loves to understand his own life. And like, he situates himself like within this like different world almost. And, I think like a lot of his track races have had this kind of almost like really dramatic, like epic hero tale kind of story elements, right? Like he goes out really hard, like honorably, and then like, I don't know, sometimes like is overtaken in the end. And like he fell at the Olympics and like, then shakes hands with like the guy who, ends up being like his worst enemy in terms of like the result. So I don't know. I think I'm like almost waiting to like be more comfortable as like a reporter and a writer to do it. Cause it's like, I'm at this point where I can recognize such a good story, but like also don't want to screw it up. So
Sure.
That's one that's like been on my mind.
What, if you weren't a middle distance runner, what track event intrigues you the most?
I think the best event in track is the 4x4. So I would love to be like a very good 400-meter runner. I think, they have like a sick body type. It's like short enough that like people pay attention and it like can still be really dramatic. I think the 400 is like really, really cool. And the 4x4, like all in service of like being part of a good 4x4, because that's really, truly exciting. And, I've done my fair share of like 4x4s and stuff, especially like in high school and at Duke. And I just have never been good enough that it's been like really exciting. It's usually like participation in the 4x4.
What is it like training at Hayward Field? Do you kind of get to where it's rather mundane, or do you kind of go, fuck man, this thing is just like incredible?
Yeah, it's like super, super mundane to me. Like I totally like forget where I am a lot of the time and take it for granted. But like sometimes I'll have like a lapse in, my days or whatever, like during a workout, and then I'll be like, holy fuck, like I'm in Hayward Field and like this is like the most beautiful track that I've ever seen. And so it's kind of this mixture, but it is really cool to, live half a mile away and be able to go there every day. And the whole thing is like constantly under construction too.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, right now they're building this like massive scoreboard. Like,
I heard about that one. Yeah.
It's huge. And it's just like crazy how it's just one big kind of like construction project all the time. And they're always trying to update it.
Do you see Coach Johnson around there a lot?
Yeah.
He has an interesting relationship with the media.
Yeah.
I think he has learned how to fine tune his relationship with his athletes and what he says to the media, which I think is a real skill set. What do you observe? Can you make an observation about what it's like to be in the most visible track program in the country? And I think he does a really good job at staying and being a coach, which I think has got to be a challenge in a situation like that.
Yeah, I think he is like pretty calculated with his approach, which, you totally have to be. Like, I think maybe it's a luxury, maybe it's a drawback of like being a coach at a smaller school that you kind of just like don't have to think too hard about it. But, he's probably more like a basketball coach or a football coach where their public image is really important and they have to think about how to like maintain it. So I think he definitely is kind of like, he doesn't talk to the media often, which is probably a good move. But also like it kind of, I don't know. It's like Oregon is almost this like, figure in the sport that is of like interest, and there's like a lot of mystique around it too. And I think like sometimes cultivating like that kind of mystique ends up being harmful for the program too. Like there was this, like DEXA scan thing like a couple months ago. And because there's like not constant communication with the media, then that's like kind of the only thing that there is. And, people latch onto that as like a really singular narrative of like what our team is, when like obviously it's a lot of other things. So yeah, I think there's like benefits and drawbacks. And, Johnson also, like, I don't know if you saw the like Kevin Hart and Snoop Dogg interview that he did back.
No, I'll have to find that.
He was interviewed by Kevin Hart and Snoop Dogg, or like talked to them briefly. It was like a part of like a Peacock program during,
okay,
I think the Olympic trials, or maybe Olympic trials. But that was really good. Like Johnson is a really good speaker and like very charismatic, and is, willing to kind of interact with the media when it matters, I guess.
Yeah. Are you a big follower of social media?
Yeah, I'm like too online.
Okay. Give me 2 Twitter accounts that I must follow.
2 Twitter accounts you must follow. Well, you already follow the track drama queen, or what is it? Track and field drama.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like those types of accounts. Like there's one called Track Jeans.
Okay.
That I really like. That's really funny. And then you must know about Dumb Flow Track, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that I guess was like bigger like a couple of years ago, but like that kind of thing.
I think, I don't know if they lose interest. What about on Instagram? Is there anything that shoots out there for you?
On Instagram. There's this one called Athletics Paint. That's pretty cool. It like was inspired by this NBA Paint account, but basically they just like use the Microsoft Paint program, which is like super, super basic, like online drawing, and like there's very recognizable like aesthetic that comes from it. But then they'll like, draw a cool moment in our sport, like a cool athlete. And that's like really, really sick to me. Like this kind of like DIY type like approach to interacting with the sport.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that.
Do you spend time on TikTok?
I'm not big on TikTok.
Okay.
My roommate is like mildly TikTok famous. So like I sometimes go in there to like monitor or like not monitor, but like check up on what he's been up to.
Yeah.
Like otherwise I'm like really not on there.
Do you do much Facebook?
No, I really don't go on Facebook.
Yeah, it's a very interesting. It's interesting to see, especially what age groups follow what too. I tend to put more of our full news things on Facebook, but Twitter and Instagram are very different cultures, and you've got to try to respect them. Your readers won't respect you. So, Matt, you've survived 45 minutes with me, so good job. And really enjoyed meeting you. And what's your next race coming up?
I have USA's indoors in just under 2 weeks.
All right. Well, good luck there. I may be there. We're trying to pull that stuff together. I'm going to be up in Eugene from end of May till middle of July. We got a Airbnb, which was much less expensive than trying to do any of the other craziness, I wanted to be near campus so we could kind of walk around and enjoy that too, because it is a beautiful campus. And
that's great. That's a string of weeks in Eugene, and the most beautiful time of the year, the most eventful time of the year.
Yeah, hit some of the farmers markets and stuff too. So just keeps it kind of fun. It just each time Eugene is one of the few cities that I wanted to live in that I never did, and I was chasing an MFA, and there was a painter up in there's a painter in Boulder, there's one in Stanford, and there's one at Oregon, and I ended up staying in the Bay Area, but just love the campus and quality of everything. And thank you for writing for us. I'm really enjoying your writing, and we're getting some nice comments, and we'll share some of those with you. And I just found out about track drama from Mike, our producer, just before, because he's always looked like when he wanted to learn a little bit more about you, and he found that, and just some of their comments, and I got a kick out of it. So thank you again for everything. I look forward to your next column, and this is Larry Eder with Socialing the Distance. Today we had Matt Wisner. He's a University of Oregon athlete. He does our column from Lane 1. Keen observer of the sport, which is the biggest compliment I can give him. And he understands words, and words are a good thing and a big thing. And I see a big 800 PB in your future, and a very fast mile too, my friend. So thanks you again. Man. Well, hello, sports fans. Larry Eder, RunBlogRun, Socialing the Distance. This is the epilogue. This is the thing that Mike Deering, our production manager, calls Larry's conversation, or Larry's monologue. So today we interviewed Matt Wisner. Matt is just finished his master's in journalism at the University of Oregon. He is now a 1:47.85 800-meter runner. He's run about 4 minutes for the mile. He's been writing a column for us since the fall called From Lane 1, with his interviews and observations on the sport and his athletes. I like his writing style. I've learned something new with each article I've read, and that to me is a big deal. Being such a geek and reading so much, he gets it. And telling the stories is what he's about. And I think he has a big future as a journalist, and maybe a social media commentator as well. But right now he's pursuing his running. He's got a strong group that he trains with, and he has some very good observations about the sport and also how to make the sport better. Anybody can criticize the sport. Anybody can criticize pretty much anything. The tough part is how you take those comments and try to build up the activity. And that's what I liked about Matt. But I think you'll enjoy the interview. And if you have any questions or comments, email me at runblogrun@gmail.com. Again, thanks to Matt Wisner and for his time. Thanks to Mike Deering, our production manager, who tries to manage me, which I think is a very difficult challenge and conversation. But and thank you, our readers, for watching this, reading our comments, passing these things around. And please pass the podcast around. If you like him, tell your friends, please watch it, because then, we can get a couple more vegan burritos, okay? Stay safe. Watch some track and field this weekend. Run, walk, or jump this weekend. And know you're part of the world's greatest sport. Okay? Take care.